I'm excited today. Obviously, excited like I always am on our Friday calls because we have a really special guest today, Heather. You guys see her. She's dressed to the nines, of course. When you hear Heather's story, you're gonna get it. You're gonna go, "Oh yeah, I get it. I get it." And Heather, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for
Um,
having me.
this is the collection. We are the Mid-State Connecticut. If I were going to name us something, I'd call us like the Warriors or something. Like Connecticut, often mistaken for a luxury state. Mistaken, but and some of us, we bounce into some of that luxury business. But the vast majority of us are out there slinging houses every day. And Heather, you have one of the most impressive businesses in our company at Keller Williams, for sure. You and I recently had a chance to meet in person at Gary's Mastermind. And you were, I think, recently a speaker, or not, maybe not so recently, but in the last year or so at one of Jeff Glover's events. Is that
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
And so you made some fans. You created some fans there. And so I've been running this Friday call here for our team for the better part of the last 5 years. And the purpose of this call is really to dive into and learn from those who've come before us, the people who have built something extraordinary, but not necessarily always in the tactical, because you have a resume that is exceptionally impressive, exceptionally. But the things aren't really what it takes, right? And you know that. It's not the things that get us the success. It's the way. It's the way we do it. So I've spent a little time learning about you before we did the call
Uh-oh.
today, and you're like, oh shit, what am I in for? Nothing deep dive, I promise. No
Okay.
stalking.
Okay.
No stalking. But what we're going to do today is I really want to learn about your leadership journey. And what we want to understand is what makes somebody tick who is willing to take on the big challenges, do whatever it takes, put yourself in a position to fail mightily, but also to win big. And we've been doing this for a long time, and we found that there's a lot of themes that come out around high performers. And so let's just start from the beginning, Heather. So you've been a real estate professional for multiple decades, right?
22 years.
All right, 2 decades, and you're in Southwest Florida.
I am. So my office services from Sarasota down to Marco Island.
Okay, and so that's a phenomenal part of the state. A lot of business, a lot of people, right?
Mhm.
Jam packed. But you didn't start there. So take us back to the beginning. Like, how does a young Heather Caine, 22 years ago, you must have been 12, decide I'm going to get into the real estate business? How does that start?
Yeah, so it actually started, and I apologize. We had our Christmas party last night, and we had a lot of fun.
You
So my
tore it up.
kind of
Awesome.
kind of going from the loud music. But it actually started me flipping houses. I was in my early 20s, and this was before marriage or anything like that, and I wanted to have time freedom. I grew up military, and my father flew President Reagan, so he was always gone. And wherever the president was, my dad was. My mom stayed home, and we lived paycheck to paycheck. And I was like, you know what, I'm going to do things different. And so I actually started flipping even before I got my real estate license, and I was doing it all myself. I was doing the flooring, I was doing the painting, I did everything. And really, my circle started to see what I was doing, and that's when I actually got my license, and then started helping friends, and then snowballed and ended up owning my own brokerage in Texas, and then it goes from there. Like it just
I
kind of,
mean, you're leaving out some really juicy bits, Heather. You're like, oh, and then one day I woke up and I owned a brokerage. So
yeah.
you're doing flips. Like, did you knock it out of the park every time? Were you just collecting piles of money? Like, how did you start? And like, clearly had some decisions to make. So you're doing flips in Texas. It's
Yeah.
22 years ago. So it's a good time to
So
be doing that for a few
I
years.
Short sales and foreclosures were my jam. So I think that was a huge blessing because I got grit and hustle, right?
Oh, love
Like,
it.
no was not an option for me. And so I took what everyone didn't want. And I ended up playing the long game, right? Like,
Mhm.
short sales, sometimes it would take 8 to 10 months to get those done, but that's where I was getting the best deals. And so for me, I was patient, I was consistent, and I just worked really, really hard. And for me, people sat back in the beginning and just watched. No one was ready to go all in on me until years of watching me do what I did. And that's what I tell agents all the time. I was like, don't underestimate who's watching you. And just stay laser focused on what your vision is.
Now you said a couple things, and I just have to jump in on it because they're so powerful and important, particularly for somebody that's, let's say, in their first year or two of their career. Now I have the fortune of having been in the business for over 2 decades, also, and a couple other people on this call do. So we remember what it was like in the season of short sales and foreclosures and difficult business. Um, and you said I took what nobody wanted. And that was part of playing the long game for you. Now we bring agents to our team. We're a pretty well-known brand in Connecticut, and we'll get agents that'll come here and very rapidly say, like, I'm only going to work with listings, or I'm just gonna do this. I'm gonna be a top performer by not doing business. Um, and it's baffling to me because, like you, I was willing to sell a mobile home that was underwater by, $20,000 if it meant that I would get the reps and get the opportunity and be able to get in and be able to close a deal. What do you think? What do you think? Where does that come from? Where does that part of your mind come from? That willingness to do whatever it takes?
I
Because
think
that's not the norm.
No, it's not. I think honestly, it comes down to like my military. I grew up, the ongoing joke in my family is my father put me to bed and he said, 1, 2, 3, sleep. Like it was like I grew up military, like, and I feel like I just I'm super disciplined. And I believe we're all flesh and no one's better than anybody else, and you just have to put skin in the game and hustle and make it happen. So I think it's just it was ingrained in me from a young age that my father was militant, but he also said support your troops and your troops will support you. So for
Mhm.
me it was all about building a team around what I wanted to grow and build.
Mhm.
And without them I can't accomplish much, right?
So you think that discipline that you grew up with just carried over into your career. That it was, look, it's a get it done mindset that you do what needs to be done.
Nobody
Um,
is better than like you can't ever think I'm above that because the
right.
second you think you're above something, you're gonna get a real quick reality check in
Oh,
life.
and I
Right?
think that that's like the fast path. Like that's the
Yeah.
exit ramp out of the business. Like the minute you think you're above a conversation or better than a
Yeah.
client or better than their circumstances, you are on your way out. Yeah.
So I have a listing appointment today for $34 million. And that $34 million lead came from a $250,000 condo listing.
Love it. Love it.
So I always say, listen, if I didn't say yes to that, I wouldn't have gotten that,
Now,
right?
in
So,
Connecticut, a $34 million listing would be an entire city block. So, how many houses are there in that $34 million listing?
oh, a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's guest houses. All right, thank you. It makes me feel a
Yeah,
little bit
yeah,
better.
yeah. No, no. We're actually, my team right now is calling on an expired that's 120 million.
Awesome.
So I'm making them all call on it because I was like, listen, they don't know that we're all with the same brokerage. I want every single one of you guys calling on that because it
Love
just
it.
went expired.
Love it. Now,
Yeah.
your business is pretty interesting because you guys are you are a luxury brand, and you're also a luxury brokerage.
Hmm.
So, and how many agents are a part of your brokerage?
I have 97.
97 agents that are part of a luxury brokerage. Now, you and I spoke really briefly about this, but I'm personally curious and fascinated. So, In order to be a member of a luxury brokerage, which means that you exclusively work with luxury clients, what there's got to be an entrance exam, right? There's got to be a way to get in, right? Like you can't, not everybody gets to do that, right?
Yeah, so it's actually not exclusive. Like we only work with with luxury clients, and I made that very purposeful because, like I said earlier, we're never above anything.
Right.
So we provide a luxury experience at all price points, but the agents have to have had luxury experience to join the brokerage,
Love
right?
it.
They need to have three luxury sales in the last 12 months in order to join us. New agents have to join a real estate team. I don't believe any new agents should just jump into a brokerage without a mentor. So I'm a very passionate about making sure that I partner a new agent up with someone that can really help them kind of catapult their business. So we will accept a new agent, but only under the mentorship of a team owner. And
Awesome.
that new agent has standards that have to be met within that first year.
Awesome. Okay. And so, and then there is also like I think you shared with me a like minimum volume commitment. Was it 10
Yeah,
million? Is that
10
right? Yeah.
million.
Yeah. 10 million.
Mhm.
So in order to be a member of the brokerage, an agent has to be selling a minimum of $10 million.
Correct.
It's pretty amazing. That's incredible, incredible numbers. So let's go back to Texas Heather. Okay, so Texas Heather, which I picture cowboy hat, cowboy boots, right? You're riding into listings on a horse. That's what we think. That's what we think Texas is in Connecticut. No, I'm just kidding. So you're flipping houses. You get a license. You decide, okay, I'm just gonna go all in on this business. How does the team start to form? Like what and where do you decide that this next step is for you?
Yeah, so really people just wanted my mentorship and guidance in the beginning. And at first I was not in the KW world. I knew nothing about MREA. I was just flying by the seat of my pants. And so did a lot wrong there. And really what happened is a group of like seven agents came to me. And I started my career at KW. Then I went to a small independent brokerage, and I was their top producer. And kind of a group of friends came to me like, Heather, let's start a brokerage and I want you to lead it. And I was like, I have a 6 month old and a 2 year old. Like, that's not happening. And then I sat back and I was like, I can freaking do that. Are you kidding me? So I became a broker and started my own brokerage with, and she was an 8 month old and a 3 year old.
Okay.
And
So you're at KW, you go to an independent,
then I
and then
started my own.
and then you started your own brokerage.
I
Okay.
did.
And you started it basically because somebody else was having a revolution. So
Yeah,
they were
not me.
yeah.
I was not, yeah, but
So that
I knew I could do it. And I knew that was probably my next phase of my career. But sometimes I always say God sends people into your life to give you a nudge,
Mhm,
and it's your job to listen. And
mhm.
so that was my nudge.
Were you well leveraged at that point? Did you have a team? Did you have an assistant? Did you have administrative support, or were you literally towing kids around and slinging houses at the same time?
I was doing everything. I mean, I literally was wearing the broker hat, the TC hat. I was in production. I was everything while having two little ones.
Tell me a little bit about that early experience because obviously we all have, and we talk about this a lot in the groups that we get to be in. We all have the same amount of time, and somehow in that same amount of time that everyone here has each and every day, the same number of minutes, the same number of hours, the same number of days in a week, you were wearing all those hats, and not just winning, but really thriving, really moving the needle, continuing to pick the next smartest thing to do. It couldn't have been easy. Had to be hard.
Oh, no, but man, it was fun. I think for me, I love impact, right? I love helping people change lives. And I was seeing all these people around me that, were struggling financially, and I was helping them win in a big way by just teaching and training them everything I knew. And I quickly realized that that was my lane, right? Is
Mhm.
helping grow others. And that was, I mean, I was 29 when I started my brokerage. So I mean, I was young. I look back, I'm like, I can't believe all those people trusted in me.
Well, they
But
trusted in your, I think a lot, I think a really cool thing. They trusted in your track record. Like
yeah.
you get to a certain point and what you realize is that age is a great equalizer, but it's not a guarantee of anything. But it's really track record that tells a story.
Mhm.
So, at 29, you had a track record that some people wouldn't build in a career. And so your track record told a story that you had the ability to manage a lot of things and move the needle on a lot of things. And so people bet on you. So that's the beginning, right? So what was the team, was it the same name? What was the team called back then?
Yeah, so I was Kane Premier Properties. That was my independent brokerage model that I had in Texas. And I did quickly get leveraged. I hired a team lead. I hired a transaction coordinator, and then I started building out systems and models because I quickly realized that I could not do all things because I grew really fast. So I grew from those seven to about 50 agents in about a year and a half. So it was one of those where I needed leverage, and I did get that, which was wonderful. And we were really making a big name for us, so it was really exciting.
Hmm. What would tell us, like, how was what was the production like back then? Again, this is pre-Florida, right? So this
Yeah,
is
this is
Texas.
pre-Florida where the average sales price, I mean, I broke into luxury because I started farming my personal neighborhood. So I really I was kind of maybe two of us were kind of doing luxury, everyone else was kind of non-luxury. I was saying we were probably doing about 200 million.
Okay, that's a tremendous business. I
Yeah.
mean, a tremendous business for, and how many agents were on the team at that time?
Probably anywhere. Gosh, it grew so quickly. Matt, that's a great question. I'd have to go back, and that was like 12 years ago.
No, but it's value, but it's important because then
Yeah.
then you had this, you built this thing that
Mm-hmm.
was producing at an extraordinarily high level. It grew really fast. And then one day you went to Disney World and woke up in Florida. Like what happened? Like most people spend their life working toward building something like that, but you made a decision that I think that I think again it speaks to your belief in yourself, your confidence, and your mindset around this sort of, get it done at all costs. So let's talk about going to Florida. What happened?
Yeah, my husband's an entrepreneur. He also owns his own business, and he had a convention in Florida, and we came to Naples. And so I went to school at University of South Florida. That's actually where I graduated, and it was in Tampa. And the second I graduated, I couldn't wait to get home because I was like, Florida's just not for me. So I came to Naples, and we got here, and I was like, where am I? Like this
Mm.
place is insane. And so my husband and I were driving the streets, and I'm like, oh my God, that sounds awesome. And I'd call on it, like thinking we could afford it. And it was like 20 million. And I was like, well, that's never happening. And then so I said to him, I said, this is my end game. I said, but we need to go home and we need to flip a bunch of houses. Because at the time, while I was running my business and doing that, I was flipping about 2 to 3 houses a year. And I was designing them, I was doing all of that as well. So we actually did. We went home and we flipped a bunch of houses. And my goal, so at the time, my oldest was 3, and I said, my goal is to be in Naples by the time she starts kindergarten. And so I started then really looking at short sales and foreclosures in because we were at the tail end of like the issues in Florida with short sales. And I found a custom builder who built a house right across from the water, and he foreclosed on it. And I did some research, and I found out the bank that actually foreclosed on it was in Texas. And I was like, well, sweet, but it was an online auction. And I knew that there was no way that I would probably win it because I'm sure a local investor in Naples had their eye on it because it's literally like the best neighborhood. I mean, it's like incredible. And then I quickly realized the bank listed it with only the downstairs square footage. So they listed the house at
Oh,
3,800 square feet, but it was a 5,200 square foot home. And they
fascinating.
priced it price per square foot at 3,800. So I knew if I got that property, I would walk into at least almost 2 million in equity.
So bank error in your favor, to quote the
But
chance card from
nobody found it. I was the only
wow.
I like because I put my head down and I hustled and researched, I found out that the bank screwed up. So it was an online auction, and it was crazy, Matt, because I actually lost the bid. So we bid up to a certain number, and I was like, "That's my end number. Like, I'm not going above that." And then it just kept going. People kept bidding, and then so I was like, "It's not going to happen." Like my dream of Naples, like put my head down. So I actually was going to flip another house in Texas because I was like, "Well, clearly I need to make more money if I ever want to move to Naples." And we were under contract. It was our last day of due diligence on a property we were about to flip there. And I got a call from the bank. And the bank said, "Hey, everybody else backed out." And so they had gone from the top down. And I think I was like number 7 on the list. But we had to
Wow.
close in 2 weeks, and it had to be cash. And I was like, "Well, I won't go to any of that numbers." And they agreed to my final number, which was a pretty awesome number. But I knew that I had to actually get my house sold in Texas in like 2 weeks.
In order to do the cash transaction.
Correct.
What?
I'm like, well, crap. I mean, if this happens, this is just an act of God. So I literally in 24 hours got my house on the market. I literally had a full price cash offer in 24 hours from the producer of Toy Story that was moving from California. And I was able to close in 2 weeks on that house.
So this, like you said, when God gives you clues, right? You take them when you get a nudge. So this comes together through a series of totally unpredictable events, and no, with a lot of, the truth is that there were a lot of reasons in that path for you to say it's not meant to be. Like
No,
there were
Heather,
multiple.
I hadn't seen the house.
So you bid just because you knew where it was, and it was a builder's home, but was it unfinished? Is that also the
No,
case?
it was finished, and it was beautiful. But my sister actually lived in Florida, and she FaceTimed me, and there was like a dead squirrel in the pantry. There was
Awesome.
dead frogs everywhere. The pool looked like a lagoon. It was, green. It was so ugly. It's so, unkept. But I knew the income opportunity, and for me, I'm a risk taker.
Right. So well, that's kind of what I'm getting to is that, but there's more than just taking a risk because risk taking implies gambling. I think that there's something else about sort of how you've approached all the things, and I haven't even gotten to the second half of your resume yet. But each time you do it, you sort of have a commitment to make it happen, right? There's a thing that you see, you say that's what I want. You figure out how to make it happen, despite the fact that there's multiple points along the way where people could have looked at it and said, I think you're crazy, Heather. That doesn't make any sense. You shouldn't do that. That's risky, right? But you did it anyway. And it sounds like from talking to you, you did it with confidence that it was going to work out.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a numbers person too. The numbers didn't lie. The location, I knew would really be a huge game changer for my family. And so, and those deals weren't available in Texas anymore. So I knew in my gut that that was the right move for us. And
I'm also, I can never help but be fascinated by who are these other 7 people who walked from the deal. And I mean, that must have struck you. Like, why did they walk? Was it the dead squirrel or the frogs in the pool? Like, why did they walk?
yeah, I'll never know that, but
Yeah, right.
all I care about is that they did, right? Because that one transaction catapulted me into, I took that profit from that and I rolled it to the next, and I rolled it to the next, and I rolled it into the next, and I rolled it into the next, and I'm on my ninth house that I've personally lived in Naples in the last 12 years because I just keep buying, selling, and flipping. And I'm in a house that now that I mean, my mind can't even wrap my head around it,
Right, because
right?
you're doing the ultimate house hack is that every 2 years, and you're doing it in a luxury market, so the yield
Um,
is higher and the opportunity just continues to compound. Well, that's amazing. All right, so you take this leap. What'd you do? Just go to the brokerage one day and say, "All right, see you guys, I'm going to Naples. You guys are on your own." Like, how did you transition all
Yeah,
these agents at the it was let's see, you call it was Caine Property Group,
came Premier Properties.
Caine Premier Properties. How did like so they're in Texas, and you said I'm moving to Naples. What happened?
Yeah, honestly, it was hard. I had a team lead who was kind of holding the fort down for me, and she's still a dear friend of mine. But, I went back and forth between Naples and Texas every single month for about 2 years. And right before COVID, okay, so I ended up launching in Florida. So I launched in Florida after I'd been in Texas. So after I'd moved here for 2 years, I didn't launch Florida right away because I realized Naples is a bubble, and I really have to be intentional with my connections. Because I didn't know anyone. I knew
Right.
not a soul when I moved here. So I was still running Texas for 2 years remote from Florida, and I would travel back and forth. But my kids were still little, and then when I wanted to launch Florida, when I did that, it really ruffled Texas because
Yeah.
all of a sudden, when I launched Florida, I wanted to launch, but I wanted to go really big.
Mhm.
So when I launched Florida, I launched with HGTV, because I created a sizzle on how I was going to detuscanize Southwest Florida one house at a time. I created a sizzle and I sent it to HGTV, and they actually called me like within 10 minutes of me sending to them. And I got 9 episodes with house hunters from HGTV. And then I got asked to be the real estate correspondent for the local news station. I had my own show called Homes with Heather. And so I was getting national presence. I was getting a ton of local media. I was featured on the front page of every news publication here in Southwest Florida. And it really upset Texas
Mm-hmm.
because they were like,
What
wait
was
a minute here. Now,
yeah,
Heather, like, why didn't we get that? You know?
right.
So I ran that for about 2 years, both locations. And then I ended up selling Texas
Okay.
and just going all in on Florida.
And did you sell Texas to the person that was running it while you were there?
No, to a different brokerage. It was a
Okay.
merge.
So, I mean, that's to take on a lot. But meanwhile, here's this business in Texas that was running.
Mhm.
People got upset or felt like maybe what was the general consensus? They felt like you abandoned them, or you were more committed to a different market. What was that all about?
I think that was like a pivotal leadership. I failed in a few ways there. Like I really failed, honestly. I failed those people um, because I was so busy. I didn't realize when I started to work for HGTV doing all those house centers. I mean, I was working from 6 a.m. till 10 o'clock at night while also trying to be a mom, while also launching a brokerage. And my brokerage took off pretty quickly here in Florida too, and I didn't show up for them like I should have shown up for them. And I did hurt relationships there, and I still have gone back and apologized to those people.
Well, that's the challenge of being in leadership, right? Is it's an everyday you're on trial every day, right? It's part of
Yeah.
the deal. So now let's shift gears because you mentioned as bullet points some of the things that I mean, again, in a career that has spanned since in Florida 2019, is that when you launched?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
so in a career that spanned just under 6 years.
Well, I've been here, so I launched my brokerage here 10 years ago.
Oh, in Florida. Okay.
Mhm.
So in a career that spanned 10 years, you had your own news TV show. You had 9 episodes on HGTV. You were on the cover of every newspaper in the market. You've launched a brokerage that has 90 luxury agents working at it. Um, and not to be, I have notes here, and also you started a software platform that integrates that is again a brilliant solution for the market, and you even had an opportunity to present to Damon John from Shark Tank.
I did.
All
Yeah.
right,
I won
wheel,
that bad boy. Yeah.
wheel this in for us, okay? So again, it's your life. So obviously, when people are touting your resume to you, you're like, yeah, check that box, check that box. But there's something about your the way you see the world as endless opportunity that has put you in those positions. That's not luck, right? That's a pattern of behavior that creates an outcome. Again, track record is the greatest predictor of future performance. And so, how did the news program come about? Let's just look at that one for a second. How did you?
The local media.
Yeah. Because I saw it. If you Google, if you look at videos, there's thousands or hundreds of videos of you being interviewed on TV by like local style and design and local TV channels. So you put yourself in a position to be there. How did that happen?
Honestly, me. I mean, I put myself out there. I reached out to all of them. I sent videos of myself. I started tagging everything in social media to really get my awareness around it. None of that would happen if I hadn't really believed in myself to put myself out there. And
Right.
in the beginning, I got a lot of haters, man.
Of course. Yeah.
I was ruffling feathers,
Of
here in
course.
Southwest Florida. And
That's the natural, like that's one of the most bizarre things about the human behavior is that other people's success is often looked at as a reflection of your own failure to most people. They see what you're doing and they go, well, that's just because. They come up
yeah.
with a reason as opposed to just going and doing it, right? So I mean, the HGTV bit, that must have been wild. Had you ever been on TV before? Had you ever had like, yeah, so you get into this like 9 episodes. What were they called? What were the nine? Was it a series or was it just
No,
traditional
so
house hunters?
I still have the most episodes that have ever been filmed with one agent on HGTV. And no, it was just house hunters. They
Yeah.
just kept coming back. They just kept saying, "What do you have next? What do you have next? What do you have next?" Because my episodes weren't like, "Hey, let's go look at a house." It's actually the first one we filmed was one of my flips that my client bought the flip. And so it was just all my episodes had a different spin. And it was showing me not as just an agent, but also how I had the vision to show them the full potential. And so I think they just loved the story behind it. And I actually hired myself because I have a terrible voice, very high pitched voice. I don't have a terrible voice. It's unique to my own. God gave that to me.
There you
But
go.
I had to hire an acting coach because I was terrible on T. I was so awkward. My voice, I didn't know how to have voice inflection. I had nothing. And so I hired an acting coach to kind of get me through the hump. And that was something that I was like, I need to invest in myself. If this is a channel that I wanted to distribute my message and my value proposition, I need to make sure that I have someone help me do that. And she was brutal, man. I would like cry. She was so
Yeah.
terrible. She was so mean
What?
to me.
What?
But she took me to that next level.
Heather, what I want to understand and what I feel like I'm a perpetual student of and what I bring to the team as often as I can and what I know that my team is plugged into is you did something that you said you were terrible at. You did something that was hard. She made you cry. There was all this obstacle. There was all these challenges. And yet you said, okay, but there's another way. But you have this innate ability to pivot, identify where you're trying to go, fix it, and own it. Where does that come from? That's the pit that I think you keep jumping over it, but there's something unique to the way you see the world and how you operate.
So fear will never control me. Um, Fear is what I run towards because fear, I believe, is the root of all evil. So
Mm.
for me, I feel like if I run towards fear, then I will fulfill my purpose and be the best version of myself.
I love that because in running toward it, you actually conquer it.
You
So,
do.
so rather than it becoming the thing that holds you back, it becomes the thing that propels you forward. So
It's
it's very Ryan Holiday, the obstacle is the way. Very much, a very traditional sort of Stoic philosophy of whatever the biggest challenge is the actual direction.
it is 100%.
Have you always been like that?
No,
Where
no.
did that come from?
Um, I got cancer in my early 20s. And I think that that's the ultimate fear, right? Is dying without fulfilling your purpose. And I think for me, that was the biggest blessing God ever gave me was getting cancer. It was I found out 2 weeks before I was getting married, that I had melanoma on three parts of my body, and that I would have to undergo a 10-hour surgery right after my wedding day. And I feel like that just that was that pivotal moment that I said, you know what? Because I did have a lot of fear, and that I was like, I will never let that ever. If God gets me through this, I will never live a day without fulfilling my purpose.
So it's really interesting, Heather, because Gary talks about something similar, although it wasn't cancer, it was losing everything.
Hmm.
He spoke about that in our most recent mastermind, where he said, by losing everything, I was given the freedom to pursue whatever I wanted. And that in that confrontation of you may never get the opportunity, you made a choice. Well, then I'm nothing's going to stop me. I'm going to get it.
And I think too, none of my decisions are, yes, we all need money, but I'm not driven by money. I'm driven by impact because money can't buy you happiness. It can't buy you health. It can't buy you all those things. And so I think that also too, when I wasn't chasing the profit and I was chasing impact, that's when my whole life changed.
Mm-hmm. So how did you this is in your early 20s or after? I mean, because again, I've now seen your timeline here. You had cancer, got married while running a successful real estate business. Yeah. And so all of that happening at the same time and like just bouncing back, driving forward and continuing to go. So now you're here in this moment in your life. You've got how many? You said two kids?
I have two kids. I have a freshman and a junior in high school now.
Okay, awesome. So the really, really crazy years. So
Oh
fresh,
my gosh, two
yeah,
girls.
two
And they're
girls.
beautiful, so it's real fun right now.
It's challenging. A lot of boys coming over.
Oh, never ending.
So two teenage kids in high school, successful brokerage serving 90 luxury agents, a really, really big brand. And you wake up one day and you're like, you know what? I'm going to start a software company. Like, I mean, if I've built software, it's really
So
freaking hard. Like
so hard.
that is the hardest thing ever. Like everybody thinks that's like, oh, sure, Facebook millionaire. Like that is the craziest thing ever. And your software platform is really, really impressive. So tell the team what you did, and then how did you land there as that's the solution? Who were the people that guided you along the way? Because I didn't see software engineer in your resume. How did you design, develop it, and then ultimately get in front of Damon John to give him a pitch? Which, by the way, for what it's worth, and this is recorded, but I don't care. I thought he was kind of a dick. Like at the end when he made his comments about like men don't pick furniture, I thought that was really not so cool. But you could share that with the team. So how does this happen? Like you come, how did you start it?
So when I merged my business into KW, so independent into KW, I told the gal who recruited me, I said, listen, I will own the lane of staging and design in the Keller Williams world because nobody owns it. And she laughed at me. She was like, yeah, that's not happening. But because of my production, I was able to get in the room of Gary's top 100. And I don't know if you were in the room that time, Matt, but he asked us who here has a mofer,
Yeah.
and we all raised his hand. And he said, "Okay, out of you that have mofers, how many of you have put it in a box?" And some people had their hand raised. I didn't have. I had a mofer, which was staging and design, but I hadn't put it in a box. But I kept my hand raised because I was like, "Well."
Embarrassed? You're like, I don't want to put my
Like
hand
I'll
down.
make it happen. I'll figure
Yeah.
it out. I'm not sure where we're headed with this. So I kept my hand raised. And so that was in like November. And he told us in that meeting that he was going to let us pitch our mofers to him. And and then that never happened. So I left that meeting and I was like, I'm figuring out how to put my mofer in a box.
Mhm.
And so I literally like I hired engineers. I did everything. I was like, I'm gonna figure out how to if I can pitch to him, he's a billionaire in our business. Like I'm gonna figure this out. And so I literally spent 3 months building out what I wanted to build, style to design. And so then I went to family reunion. So that was February. That was the first family reunion I've ever been to because I just joined KW. And I was seeing everyone on stage, and I'm like, I'm going to be on that stage at MegaCamp. I don't know how I'm going to get on that stage, but I'm going to get on that stage at MegaCamp. And not only am I going to be on the stage, I'm going to be speaking on that stage. And so I saw, so all before Mega Camp, I'm emailing Gary, hey, I put my mofer in a box, blah, 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 blah. No response. I'm like,
Nothing.
well,
Right.
crap. And there's no announcement that we're pitching mofers. So I'm seeing Gary on stage, and he's on stage with Liz Landry and Sajid Patel. And I'm saying, okay, I need to get to Gary. So those look like his gatekeepers. So I'm gonna see how I can get to Gary through them if Gary's not responding to me. So when you can't get a hold of anyone, no one responds, the number one thing you do is you send people a private message on Facebook, right?
Sure.
So I sent Liz Landry a message on Facebook, and I said, hey, you were on stage, you were just on stage, and you talked about where entrepreneurs thrive, and you talked about building out affiliate businesses. I'd love 5 minutes of your time. I know you're in leadership, so I would appreciate just the opportunity. She called me like the next day, and I shared with her the value proposition. Here's the key point. I knew my value proposition. I could articulate it in 30 seconds. And I think that's the biggest mistake people make is they have an idea, but then they don't know how to articulate it
Yeah,
really quickly.
they drone on and on about all the
And you,
variables and features and so on, but you just
you
have to, who does it help? How does it help them? How does it make money? Right? Like,
yep. And
and
so
I saw a comment in the that somebody was asking about in a box. That's effectively what putting a mofer in a box is. It's saying, clarify how can somebody pick it up off the shelf? What does it cost? How does it help them? Make it a business model. Like an offer is just an offer, but how do you turn it into something that's easy to translate into an actual business?
yeah. And so Liz was like, I love it. She's like, you need to talk to Sajeg. And I was like, okay. So she introduced me to Sajeg. And I knew Sajeg was the ultimate gatekeeper at the time to Gary. So Sajeg, he didn't know that I lived in Florida. And he's like, I love it. He's like, let's meet Monday at 8:30. And I was like, awesome. I get the calendar invite. It's not a Zoom.
It's in Austin.
It's in Austin.
That's awesome.
And
That's
I was
great.
like, oh, well, crap, I gotta like figure out how to get to Austin. So I was on a Friday. And
Yeah.
then the crazy thing is, when I accepted the calendar invite, I didn't realize that it was Central and I was Eastern. So I'm in my hotel room about to get an Uber, and Sajik's like, where are you at? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, our appointment is now.
Yeah.
And I totally screwed up. So I get there late. I flew to Texas, all that, and he gave me 10 minutes. And because I was late.
Yeah.
And I had to pitch my program to him in 10 minutes. I did, and he said, you need to put it on a one pager, and you need to because Gary won't look at anything that's not on a one pager. So I put it on a one pager, and he presented it to Gary, and Gary loved it and said, can you launch this at MegaCamp? And I said,
Yes.
opportunity.
Yeah, there it is.
And I did. I launched Style to Design at MegaCamp. That was 4 years ago. And since then, I've been voted a top 10 tech tool by the NAR. I've won the pitch battle with Shark Tank with Damon John with it. I've had over 1,000 agents utilizing the platform. I'm in every state in the US with it now. My agents right now are earning about 30% more commission. The average days on market have gone down by 50%. And I'm earning an insane amount of affiliate revenue. And so are all the agents that are using the platform.
Tell everybody how the platform works because I'm not sure everybody's familiar with it.
Yeah, so Style to Design. So I believe that as an agent, you always have to bring value. And one of the number one ways you can bring value is helping people make more money on their house, right? So staging and design has been proven to be the only thing that can really increase an average sales price. It's actually proven anywhere from 6 to 11%. But the problem is 81% of people have no vision, right? They can't see what something could look like. And virtual staging for me is a complete letdown. I feel like it's a bait and switch. So I
Mhm.
wanted to find something that was different, but there really wasn't anything that existed. So what I did is I created a platform where there's over 1,000 different interior designs, and I have partnered with over 700 different brands. My designers create beautiful designs of every room you need in a home, kitchen, bath, exterior, family room, all the things. We take real furniture and we simulate real furniture into the listing images where all the product is click to purchase. So that way the agent can advertise the home being sold with design services included, and the listings are now shoppable.
Hmm.
And what happened is now
And
there's
it's part of it. There's like a series of things that, so number one, you're doing the design work, but then it's also creating an interactive, engaging opportunity for a potential buyer, right? Because it's not, I would assume like there's that element of it, which is the person that gets that does the project, but doesn't actually go through the mechanism of, okay, yeah, now I'm going to totally renovate my kitchen. But the buyer now has an interactive interface where they can go and they can click the tile and buy the tile. They can click the faucet and buy the faucet so that if they do buy that house, they already have the design work completed, right?
correct.
And so the listing agent benefits by saying to the seller, I'm going to have this professionally designed in a plug and play, click to purchase manner so that any potential buyer that comes in here is going to see all of the potential of your 1980s kitchen. Because we know that you're not going to necessarily renovate your kitchen before we sell, but we need to create a vision for that buyer on what that is. And then they can actually go and execute on it too.
They can. So I teach the agents how to build out a menu of services and a commission tier approach. So I always say, listen, you start off and you say, hey, listen, this is everything that's included in the sale of your home. But as we know, your home is original. So really, if we put it on the market, it's only going to appeal to 19% of buyers. So we really want to make sure we appeal to 100%. So level two of my commission category is going to include selling your home with design services. And that's where we're going to have our design team go ahead and cast the vision and provide the solution for any type of renovation or furnishing. And that's how people are leveraging style to design and increasing their commission percentage. And my platform, the images are, it's like $45. Like it's not,
Right.
they're making so much more profit
Right.
off of that. And that's been really the catalyst. But the coolest part about it is when someone says, hey, I love this kitchen, how much and who can do the work. I've also taught and trained them how to build out trade agreements with contractors, and now they're also earning anywhere from 10 to 20% of the profit on the renovation as well. So we have hundreds of agents that have said I've increased my, not only my commission, but now I'm earning an additional 200 grand and trade revenue. And in addition to that, everything that's click to purchase, those are all affiliate links. So the agents are earning up to 30% cash back on all those affiliate links
Yeah,
now
so
too.
if the buyer goes and buys that faucet through that link, which is at a discount, my understanding is right. So they're
It's
if they
not a discount. It is what they, if they were to Google it online, that is what they would pay
they would get the same
online.
price. Okay. So but if they buy it through
Agent,
that link, the agent is getting affiliate revenue.
correct.
That is fantastic. What a
Yeah.
very, very cool platform. I can't wait to mess about with it. I'm gonna I am, yeah, I really. I mean, and I saw Shane asked, can we use it? Shane, let's talk about it. It sounds like a really cool platform. And especially for, especially I think like it's interesting because you especially for the clients who can't afford. I actually think it's the opposite. It's not the ones who want the design, it's the ones that can't afford for the full scope. They have the date at home, they have the home that needs the work, and they're really not in a position either because of equity or investment in order to put the money in. But we need to present that property and what could be to the
Yeah.
potential buyers that are out there. So really, really fantastic tool.
And I built a luxury and a non-luxury section so that way, the non-luxury, you can design an entire room under $2,500, and then the luxury is over that. So I built it out for each category of agent, and that's for the renovation. So you can search cost-effective, mid-range, or luxury on all the renovations. And so it's what's so powerful is I use it as people ask like, how do you have all these agents that want to join your brokerage? It's because they all want style to design,
Right. Right.
you know,
It's a
and so
it's a mofer for an agent too.
it's a
Yeah.
mofer for an agent. It's my recruiting tool. I now teach courses on staging and design. I have a huge announcement coming in January where a pretty cool opportunity. So there's I'm on a mission to revolutionize the real estate industry by design. That's my tagline. It's trademarked, it's registered. And if you think staging and design in real estate, I want you to think of Styles Design and Heather Caine. That's my
Awesome.
ultimate goal.
That is awesome. Heather, this has been a very, very rapid 50 minutes, by the way. We have flown through it, and I feel like we've just scratched the surface. But before we break, or before we take off here, I do want to open it up, if you're open to it, to a couple of questions from the team.
Absolutely.
A little background. Obviously, these are top performing agents. Our team, we're out there, we're hustling every single day, selling really, really high price points at an average of 440,000. So, don't feel bad for us. We work really, really stinking hard. And these are amazing people. So, Aaron, what are you thinking? What do you have for Heather?
Well, Heather, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you at the Glover event, which is how we, ended up with you here on this call. But I feel excited. I took a page out of your playbook, and when I heard you speak on stage, I said, I got to find a way to get her to our team to talk about all these cool things she's doing. And we were just I was behind you in the coffee line and just said, Hey, Heather, right? So I think that there's a couple things that stood out. I just want to repeat that you said, for those in the back of the room, that you have a history of taking, like, how you got started is you took what no one wanted and you put your time in. And what I hear, that's like a very common theme with successful people, is that they don't skip the grunt work. You have to put in the time, because actually that's where all the opportunities show up in the future. Jeremy talked about it yesterday in our team meeting when he got started in his industry as well. So I love that you said that. And then I just have to tell you, I'm sure you've heard this song, but when you got to a point in talking about your experiences, and the song by Ariana Grande, Seven Rings, have you ever heard it? The
I
line is, I
haven't.
see it, I like it, I want it, I got it. That is like, that should just be your theme song, because that's what I hear when you're speaking today. So thank you so much for sharing this. I have one question for you real quick, is that you talked in the beginning about minimum standards for your team, and I would love to hear you share, why is it important to you that the people on your team have a minimum standard of production and not just show up and want to be productive? Like, what does that do for you and your organization, and why is that important?
So the things that have gotten me in trouble in the past is gray areas, right? And so for me, it's clarity, and there's a standard in place. And I feel like the second there's anything gray, a gray area of what's required, that creates uncertainty. So for me, it's just it's black and white. And then there's if God forbid someone is not meeting the standard, it's not personal, it's professional, and it's the way that you can salvage that personal relationship if it doesn't work out. And that happened over time because I had a lot of my dear friends join me in the past, and they weren't able to execute, and I did hurt relationships along that journey. So I really believe in clarity and just having standards, and that way it's all professional, not personal.
Yeah, Ben Kinney talks about that in the framework of love and results. He's always said, "Listen, I can love you, and you can get results, but in order to be in business together, I need to love you, you need to love me, and we need to get results. You can't just have one. If we have results but we don't love each other and care about each other, there's no way we can be in business together. If it's only a love relationship and there's no results, that's not a business relationship, that's a friendship. And you've got to have that very clear delineation. I love that, Heather. Thank you,
Ben
Aaron.
Kenny was a huge part of the start of Styles Design for me too, just so you know.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah, he's a phenomenal mentor.
he's amazing.
Bennett, what are you thinking?
Yeah, so a couple things, Heather. Thanks for coming on today. One is just your backstory about the grunt work and doing floors and things, because I think, and Matt probably doesn't get this to the same extent, but when you look at you today, you're obviously, you present yourself very well, luxury, and there's some assumptions people make about someone who's in luxury now. But the fact that 20 years ago you were grinding and you were doing floors and short sales, and I was on Matt's team in 2009, 10, when we had tons of short sales here, and the grind was real. And yeah, it was not about profits. It was about, can we help this person out of a problem? And that was like the real goal. And I remember like a couple times like calling the bank and nobody would answer. And literally it was like, we are going to keep dialing
Yeah.
every extension until we get a human being. I
Yeah.
don't care if they're in the mailroom or they're whatever. And until we get someone at the bank that will put us in touch with someone who will actually return our calls. And it was tough and it was a grind for these short sales. But, you know, Matt can probably tell you how many clients he has sold their houses since then, who recovered from that and are now thriving. So I think the grind is very important for people to know about people like you, because you know they don't know what it took. A lot of people don't know what it takes to get there. The other thing is just about now. You said 80% have no vision. Like that's me. I have no vision, and I think even like I've got someone right now is a first time home buyer. They don't have a lot of money. They just want to know like what paint color, like what would be nice. Like, can you give me a budget, just some things to do? Cause I don't know what to do. So I think in our market, I'm sure all levels of your program will be fine, but I think the lower end of just giving people ideas about what the heck to do, I think that's extremely valuable in our market. So thank you for all that.
Yeah, I teach a staging and design certification course, and I think every agent should do it. It's $49. Like it's not my money maker, but it's one of those where it teaches everyone just like the tips and tricks. And it's just an easy thing to have when you're the buyer or seller. And I basically just train you on all of that
I
kind of
love I love that
yeah.
idea too, because it's just another one of those accolades that you can talk about with confidence when you're meeting with a seller. Where do you teach that, Heather? I
It's
assume
on Zoom.
it's in the
Yeah, it's on
online and
if you go to styletodesign.com, you'll see that course. It's a stage design certification course. So then you also get a designation with us. But that's my top course for
I
agents.
put that link in the in the chat, guys, so you can jump on there. But thank you for the comment, Bennett. Definitely, it is a strange experience when people meet you today and assume they know all the things that must have happened in order for you to be where you are. And that's one of the most valuable things that I get out of having people come and join the team is that, I think part of my job is to expose people to the process and then encourage them along the way. And people like yourself, Heather, who have done so much to get where you are, you've earned it. You've earned every inch of it and every ounce of it. And it to Bennett's point, it's easy to make assumptions that are just totally inaccurate. So, Kasha, what are you thinking? Good morning.
Heather, good morning. Thank you so much. You're singing my song. And everything that you've said today, I recently was reading something about an importance of having a floor at a certain level. And your floor is so high and it's beautiful. I'm definitely taking your course. And it's so funny because just yesterday I was talking to Cody about everything that you're talking about today. My question is, because I am the person with the vision, I'm blessed with it, but I loved your math, what you said, that 6 to 11% in price increase. Can you elaborate a little bit more about the math and science behind the staging and design? And another question that I have, you said that you're all over United States. Are you in Canada? Are you interested? I would love to connect you with someone. When you were talking, I was like, oh my God, you're a match made in heaven with that woman that I know in Canada.
Yeah, so the brands that I'm partnered with right now, some brands will ship to Canada, some brands will not. So I would say we're probably about 60% would and 40% would not. So that's kind of just been our struggle with the platform is we are just here based in the US. The 6 to 11%, that's a NAR stat, the National Association of Realtors, that talks about staged homes. Now, when it comes to style to design, because I've been doing this now for 4 years, we're following that same trend as well. I actually am helping people get more than that if they physically stage. And I do teach and train on that. I do host an in-person course every year where they can tour my warehouses and meet my staff and if they have any interest in building out a physical staging company. But style to design is more of the tech side. But if people, I've coached hundreds of agents on how to build staging businesses as well, if that's a passion of theirs. Because I do own that. I have probably about 700,000 in inventory, and I can stage about 30 houses right now.
Amazing. That's unbelievable. It's awesome.
I just have a car full because on Monday I'm staging my listing. So
My warehouse is called Marshalls and TJ Maxx. So just so you guys know, I have a warehouse too, and they have a 3-day return policy. So anyway, thank you for that, Kasha. Thank you, Maya. Take us home. Bring us home. What do you have for Heather? What'd you take away today?
Well, I took away a lot of things. I find you like a really great, amazing business lady, which is great. Like you have like so many different routes from like flipping to like your furniture thing and then everything else. But yeah, I just want to say like since you built like such a team in such a short time, like I think you said 7 agents to like 50 agents in like a year and a half. Like how did you guys like get those people on your team? Was it like through word of mouth? Was it organically, or people just kept on interviewing for your spots? Just curious how you grew a team so big.
So honestly, I am social media. I'm very loud on social media. I'm very consistent on social media. And I kind of took social media by storm before everybody else was willing to do it. I also am not afraid of being, I hope if you follow me, I'm authentic. I show the good, the bad, the ugly, the real. I show my life. And I've just, a lot of it is attraction marketing for me. Still to this day, I don't pick up the phone and recruit. People come to me. And I think if you build a big enough world where people can see themselves part of it, they want to join you. And I would say be loud, be authentic, be you, but make no excuses of what you're there for. I went live yesterday saying it's my last day, and people didn't know what that meant on my social. They thought like I'm leaving the industry, but really it was my last day because I just bought a building and I'm moving my entire business into a new building. And I've just out of that one live, I've got about 20 people that want to join my team.
I would add too, I watched that video this morning while I was preparing for our conversation, and I think authenticity is 100% the word. You can genuinely feel how you come through what you do on social media. I would also add, because it is one of those spaces where people dabble but don't commit, that what you also heard from Heather is that she hired an acting coach and a voice coach. And so how she shows up authentically is prepared. I guarantee that she didn't just riff the live that she did, that there was some version of an outline, and there was some version of a plan about what she wanted to say, and that it wasn't just a let me just go on live here and ramble. Is that a fair assessment, Heather?
Of course.
Yeah, and that there was a plan in the hook that she put in, which said, I'm leaving, right? Or it's my last day. Like, oh, well, what does that mean? Like there was a plan there. And I'd be willing to bet, knowing Heather as much as we have over the last hour, that there's intentionality behind all of it. It's not just doing it for the sake of doing it, that there's a design element, because it pervades every part of us. It pervades our business, our brand, who we are, how we present, not just the homes. So Maya, thank you for that. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Heather, this has been amazing. You've inspired a room. You've had an impact today. So you can hang it up and go back to bed and rest off from the Christmas party or whatever it is that you have planned. But
I got that big listing appointment, Matt.
Oh yeah, that's right. 32 million, an entire city block. Yeah, go get it. How can we help you? Obviously, style to design. Where can we show up and support you? Where on social media can we like you, follow you, make a comment, tag, do whatever? How can we show up and just give you our gratitude today?
Yeah, I'd love for you to follow me on social. It's Heather R. Caine, Caine. My businesses are Styled to Design. It's styled.to.design. You can also follow KW Elevate Luxury. And I'd love to I love coaching and training is just my passion. So I'd love to see you in a course. I promise you, you'll take what I teach you, and you will, if you implement any one of the 10 ideas I give you, you will see a massive increase in your business in 2026. So, yeah, just I want to see more of you. So
Awesome.
please, follow me along or come be part of my community.
Heather, thank you so much. Thank
Yeah,
you for sharing your morning with us.
thank you.
Appreciate it very much. Go enjoy that sunshine. We are in the frozen
I know.
Northwest. It's 11 degrees, or Northeast. It's 11 degrees today. Frigid and cold. And that's just the way we like it up here. So have a great day, Heather. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Take
Guys,
care.
thank you so much. We
Thanks.
all know what we got to do, right? You just heard from an incredible industry veteran telling you about what it takes to go do the thing. And at the end of the day, right, it breaks down into the pretty simple. It's if you were to go sign something, sell something, or set an appointment today, then what would your week look like next week? How would you be positioned to go win better if you just did those basic things? So go make it an amazing day, everybody. Appreciate y'all.